Thank you, guys. Yeah. All right. So, yeah. Just a little bit of housekeeping. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're joining from. But I know you guys are joining from the room. So, a little bit of announcements. You can get the summit schedule here. I'm sure all of you have that already. And then a special thanks to our sponsors, the Microsoft, the Diamond sponsors, the Gold sponsors, Silver and Bronze. And then I don't know if you're aware of this information, get a 10% off for your first order over 100 from the trainer's warehouse. And you can scan the code and then do get that. Now, my topic, AI adoption without compromising cybersecurity. So this is going to be more like a panel discussion. And we don't worry, we're going to have fun. And yes, my name is Olajumoke Toriola, but if you do not know how to pronounce it, I am okay with MJ, not Michael Jackson. I'd like to leave a disclaimer on time on that. I'm not Michael Jackson, because if you ask me to take any step, you are in for a surprise. So you can call me Ola, but if you're not okay with Ola, just call MJ. MJ is okay. I'm a Microsoft Regional Director. I'm also a Microsoft Most Valuable Professional in the M365 Apps and Services category, and also a Microsoft Certified Trainer. I actually work with Hashem Limited. I mean, a lot. I don't like to, because of time, say a lot. Just check me out on LinkedIn. Mm. So, one of the things that we like to speak about is AI adoption without compromising cybersecurity. AI is a powerful and a promising technology, but it can also bring many benefits to humanity that we know. But aside all of these benefits we know that AI can bring, it can also pose significant challenges. And the risk needs to be addressed. That's one of the things the risk that AI will bring needs to be addressed. And this is the reason we are in this room today. And then one of the most important thing that we intend to do is to see how we can strike that perfect balance between innovation in AI and security. And that is why our discussion today is going to be focusing on the possible steps for us to be able to establish that standard or that perfect balance between AI and security. And then this is a panel discussion. I just want to give a little bit of background on it. And yes, like I said, AI is transforming various domains, various domains. However, significant challenges is what we're seeing these days. And we see even from ChatGPT coming in, now DeepSeek, now agentic AI, everyone is getting scared what's happening and all of that. But how can we put a balance to all of this while we're still safeguarding our data? Because at the intersection of AI, you have the data, your data in the middle, and then you have security. And so you're looking at AI is going to feed on your data. How am I going to protect that data that at the end of the day, it is not compromised or it does not even become an avenue because of the AI and I'm adopting that it becomes something that can be compromised. And so this is more of a panel's discussion. And then I would want us to meet our panelists. First, I know you guys have already met me. This is MJ. Then the next person I want you to meet is Sam. Sam Adranyi is an MVP on Azure AI and is also an MCT. And then I have Joy Emedom. I don't want it to just be all men throughout. I want a female. So Joy is also an MCT. She works with Avanade. She's a manager, a cybersecurity expert. And then I have David Okeyode. David Okeyode is a multi-award MVP and an MCT at the same time. He worked with CrowdStrike. So, I mean, he's a security enthusiast, a very, very big expert on security. And I have Olanrewaju Oyinbooke, Ola for short, who is also an MVP and an MCT. So the discussion, I'm going to stop sharing very soon. I'm going to start the discussion right away. And the discussion, I think I have Sam in the house. My first question will be to Sam, and Sam is going to tell us. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I actually want the question to come out so that you guys can read while Sam speak. So my first question we go to Sam, and this question is on the future of AI-driven innovation. What are the most transformative AI innovations currently influencing various industries, and how are they expected to develop over the next decade?
Thank you very much, Jumoke, for the question. So, once again, my name is Sam. Jumoke has done all the introduction, so I'm just going to jump right into it. I hope I'm very audible, though.
Very well.
Okay, awesome. So for me, I want to start with laying some emphasis, right? For us to understand that AI is not just evolving, right? AI practically is rewriting all the rules, right, of what's possible across a lot of the sectors. You can talk about healthcare, you can talk about climate sciences, you can talk about education. You know, AI is just rewriting the rules of what's possible in all these sectors. Um, Personally, let's say, so in my work, I'm sure Jumoke are aware of this. In my work with Crafted Climate, right, where we've
Yeah.
seen three innovations stand out, right? You can talk about generative AI, autonomous systems, and you can talk about AI-driven scientific discovery. So, for example, if you take, there are some medical related AI projects, right, that are helping to predict protein structures in seconds. Like something that initially would have taken about years, like lots of years, to do. Now it's taking just a few seconds. Now, this is just progress, right? It's not just the progress we're looking for, but it's actually a paradigm shift, right? Into the fact that now it is faster and easier to do things. For example, there are also AI powered services that is actually repurposing accelerated cancer treatments, right, by as much as 40%. So you have the ability now to use AI to speed up a lot of processes to boost, small business productivity and all that. Now, but what's the big picture, right? Like you asked, over the next decade, we expect AI to fuse with things like quantum computing, IoT, to help enable like real time, for example, in crafted climates, like climate modeling, right? And also self-optimizing things like supply chain management. But the biggest leap for me is the fact that AI is democratizing tools. So, for instance, AI tools are becoming more and more accessible, right? Like smartphones, letting virtually anyone innovate, right? Innovate in the space of AI. So for me, I see that businesses have to invest, right? Not just in AI, but also in ethical guardrails, right? And the question is not what AI can do. We need to start thinking about how we harness it responsibly to improve the future.
All right, thank you so much, Sam, for that. Do we have Ola in the house? I don't think we have Ola yet, so I'm gonna just skip Ola and then go to David. Now, David, for Sam, he talked about innovation. He talks about the guardrails we have to have in establishing AI. So my question to you is around balancing innovation and security. How do you see organization effectively balancing the adoption of AI-driven innovation while still ensuring robust cybersecurity defenses?
Yeah, no, thanks very much, MJ. Thanks very much for the question. And good to see you again. Good to see everyone also. So for everyone that don't know, MJ is actually my mentor. Right. So MJ is who I look up to be like MJ when I grow up. Right? I'm sure you can all see like all the amazing things that she's doing. So, anyways, to get into that, so a little bit of background about myself. So I've been in security for well over a decade now. So I've worked with multiple types top cybersecurity companies, like some of you may know, like Palo Alto Networks. I used to work with Sophos in the cloud security division. Then I worked with Palo Alto Networks, and now I'm working at CrowdStrike. So one of the things that's clear, not just from AI now, but from other like evolution and all the other the different inflection points in security in the past, is that organizations usually approach technology adoption with an innovation first mindset. And what that means is that the focus is usually on what are the capabilities of these tools? What are the potential use cases? What can we build with them? How can they make us more competitive? How can they make us more efficient? Like all the amazing things that Sam has mentioned. And that is great. And that's something that organizations should do and will do, right? There's nothing there's nothing that we can do to stop organizations from taking that approach. But very rarely do we see organizations pause to consider the risks, the threats, the security implications. How can these things be used negatively? How can this thing be exploited by an attacker or an adversary that have bad intentions, maybe to achieve certain negative outcomes? And I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news. The uncomfortable truth is that there are risks associated with the use of generative AI. And that does not mean that we should limit our adoption. But what that means is the people that are going to be most successful in the long run have to adopt with a different mindset, right? A mindset where where we are aware of the risks and we begin to put in measures in place, whether that's in form of policies, in form of security controls, in form of technologies, to begin to mitigate some of these risks early on. So only organizations that do that will be able to sustain things in the longer run, because whether we believe it or not, the same way that we're all looking at how can we adopt these technologies, attackers are looking into that. I work out CrowdStrike, and every year we release what we call the Global Threat Report. This year, we just released our Global Threat Report for the year 2025, came out about 2 weeks ago. And here's a very interesting stat from that Global Threat Report. The fastest, so two of the main popular stats that people look at when they look at our threat report is they look at the average breakout time and the fastest breakout time. Now, last year we recorded our fastest breakout time ever, even faster than the year before. So breakout time means the time that it takes for an attacker to exploit or gain initial access, for an attacker to move laterally into the environment and begin to maybe get an impact or maybe transverse the rest of the security controls in the environment. So last year we recorded 51 seconds was the fastest time that we recorded. And here is the other interesting thing from the report is that there's evidence that the fastest breakout, 51 seconds, actually had AI assistance in terms of being able to move like that quickly. So essentially, we're beginning to see like this being used negatively. And what that means is that security for many organizations, like Sam said, the rules need to be rewritten now. It's not just human versus human, it's machine versus machine, right? And okay, how many organizations are in a place where they can detect and stop a threat within 51 seconds? Probably very few. And that's not something that's difficult for a human to do. That's something that's moving at machine speed. So what I would say, MJ, to answer your question, to take that back to your question, is that at the minimum, organizations should begin to understand what the risks are. One of the good places that I consult for something like that is the AI incident database, which is publicly available. So you can see incidents that have been happening in the AI world. So consult that. Another repository that I consult are frameworks that are out there. So we have frameworks that have been built now. So we have OWASP Top 10 on LLM and NIST framework, and even Google's framework on AI security. So I consult that, and what that helps me to do is help me to understand the risks. And then with that understanding, I can start to educate the rest of our organization on what the risks are, so that at least at the minimum, when we are thinking about adoption, we have this at the back of our mind that this is not just all fun and games and capabilities. There's also real risks behind what we are doing.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that, David. And yes, it's quite very important. We know the risk earlier, and then we'll be able also to know how we can draw up a framework around our AI adoption. So moving on, I will be calling on Ola. I think I have Ola already in the house. And then I'll go back to Ola questions. So Ola, um, Sam has already spoken a lot about the AI innovation that is rocking the industry and all of that. However, I want you to throw a little bit of light on the AI and the emerging technologies that we're going to be seeing very soon. So my question to you, and I'm projecting this just because of for the benefit of the audience, how is AI innovation together with other emerging technologies such as quantum computing, blockchain, and the Internet of Things going to open new possibilities for organizations?
Thank you very much, Jumoke, and hello everyone. I'm really happy to be here and to share alongside with this partner, amazing partner, on this topic. We live in a very fascinating time. Like I used to say, every century there is a redefinition of how we work and how we live due to technological evolution. And you agree with me, we're already seeing that. 5 years ago, the way we do things around us is quite different. As of 2019, hardly will you join an event that is happening online, and you are having the wholesome experience because we prefer in-person meetings. And that's just one relatable example among several other things that has to do with the way we live and work. And so in the last 5 years, we've seen a new dimension of this technology evolution, and it's very clear today that we are transitioning to another century of redefined work, redefined solutions around us. I would like to cite about 6 different areas that have seen these technology evolutions impacting or redefining things. And speaking to the question you asked, Jumoke, the very first one is productivity transformation. While it's still highly debatable, you agree with me that AI is enabling first, making complex things become more simpler to do, and making seemingly impossible complex solutions now possible, but harder, but at least it's still possible. And we already see today how really productivity is being driven by this AI augmentation that is all around us. For example, Microsoft Copilot within Office 365 and everywhere that is embedded into, we've seen great improvement in productivity. When I'm working today in Word, Excel, and few other tools, I hardly start with my thought. I hardly start by typing. I start with my thought, and I share that thought with Copilot, and we build it up from there. So we're going to see more of this AI and technology evolution around us coming into our productivity space, making possible the things that are probably time consuming in the past or hard to do, making them simple and easy to do. And those that are complex or seemingly impossible for some certain employee to do, they cannot do them, even though they become a bit more harder, but they can do those things today. And Microsoft report on productivity and recent report, it shows clearly, for example, GitHub Copilot, 88% report higher productivity using GitHub Copilot for coding. So even for developers who are creating new solutions, who are solving problems across different landscape, they are becoming more productive in solving that same problem. And this enhancement is also enabled by this evolution of AI and technology and quantum computing and blockchain we are seeing around us. And when I move again to the second area, which is problem solving acceleration, Microsoft, Google, they've experienced some breakthrough in quantum computing. For example, Microsoft recently shared how they were able to bring out the new chips now that can solve problem even at a faster speed and faster rate. This means that some problems like in health, where rediscovering new medicine to drug discovery, solving those challenges with health, it is believed that what will have taken several months, several years, with this new computing power, because the world today, everything this evolution is riding on, it has to do with computing power and strength. And with this breakthrough in computing power, we are seeing influence. We are seeing the influence even in drug discovery. So that is also solving that problem, including knowledge democratization. For the very first time, all of us are beginners. We are
Mm.
rediscovering how we use these tools.
Yeah.
The company building it, they are also learning
Mm-hmm.
through that process to
Mm.
build what is going to work for us. For those that are using it there for the very first time, we are all learning how to use it. And thank you, David, even for the example you are sharing around, security breaches and how hackers too, they are
Mm.
learning for the very first time too. How can we use this same tool to,
Mm.
to do what we like doing and do it better? Defenders also say, oh, how can we use this thing
Yeah.
everybody is becoming a beginner and leveraging this knowledge to build something out of it.
Mm.
So it's a new world entirely. And I'll just stop here and speak to organization transformation. The companies that are going to thrive in this new era aren't just deploying new technologies. They are not going to be the company deploying new technologies, even though the technology are evolving and are there. It's going to be organizations that are reinventing the way this technology enable them to deliver
Mm.
the
Absolutely.
work they do.
Mm-hmm.
We are already asking questions now. The next phase, what will it look like? Is it going to be chatbot was the opening, was the entry to this AI thing and generative AI thing? What would the next interface look like? We are hearing of agent, we are hearing autonomous capabilities, but we don't really know how to get there yet, but we are working together through that space. So I I see quite a lot of possibilities from this breakthrough, including being powered by quantum computing, AI, blockchain. Our agents now are AI, are reasoning. They are becoming a reasoning model, not just
Mm.
generative. They are now becoming to reason over whatsoever we are discussing. So that gives them some level of intelligence beyond where they are coming from. So organizations that are going to also make the best or transform, they won't just be deploying this AI model, but rather let's envision the next phase and how
Mm.
can we leverage this breakthrough together.
Thank you so much, Ola, for that. Thank you. That was deep. I don't know if we have Joy in the house. I'm not too sure she has joined. So I'm
I
just
think
gonna
she's
move
about to
her.
join from what I've heard. So yeah, and the link was
Okay.
just shared with her now.
All right. So I think I'll go back to her later. Then I'll move on to Sam. And then we'll be speaking about the agentic AI. And then I think there was a lot of disruption when Satya last year, December, announced that it's going to be the end of SaaS very soon
Mm.
because agents are actually going to take over the whole stuff. So my question to you, Sam, is around agentic AI, the opportunities and the risk. How do agentic AI system differ from the traditional models? Because
Mm.
a lot of us are still trying to wrap our head around what is agentic AI, what is the how is it different from the traditional models that that we are used to, and then what are the opportunities and risks that this agentic AI with an independent decision making, what is it going to present? What are those risks or opportunities it's going to present for innovation?
Yeah.
Over to you,
So
Sam.
yeah, thank you, Jumoke. It's interesting, that Ola gave those perspective because again we're rediscovering, ourselves and relearning. Um, One thing we need to understand is that agentic AI is not just smarter, right? It is autonomous. That's one of the key things about agentic AI. Making decisions in real time, like a human, right? For example, a human pilot that is trying to navigate a storm, right? But has with all this autonomy and power, one thing we also need to be mindful of that is it comes with great complexities. Um, Traditional AI follows rules, right? Traditional AI or
Mm,
bot follows rules, right? Agentic AI creates them. That's like the distinct. So, for example, let's say while a traditional model, let's say, might flag just a fraudulent transaction in, let's say, in the banking sector, right? An agentic system could do a couple of things. It could, one, freeze the account, negotiate with banks, alert the user, all without user input, right? So it's not just
Okay.
predetermining rules, but then it creates, okay, in this scenario, how else can I, maneuver this? You talked about opportunities. Um, Imagine a disaster response drone, and I'm trying to mixing the examples in all different sectors as I alluded to earlier, so you can see that the opportunities are there in different areas. So imagine a disaster response drones, right, that can reroute mid-mission, as fires are spreading. Or let's take a look at the supply chain that actually self-heals during, let's say, a geopolitical crisis, right? Actually, it's interesting to know that McKinsey has estimated that agentic AI could boost GDP by $4.4 trillion annually by 2030,
Mm.
right? Through efficient gains. So it tells you that there is huge opportunity in the application of agentic, AIs throughout. However, to opportunities also comes risks, right? What are some of the risks we're looking at? I know David will talk a lot more, but I can let me just share a few things on that. Now, autonomy risks what we call the unintended consequences. Now, a
Mm.
healthcare agentic AI, right, um, would probably prioritize cost cutting over patient needs. That is an
Mm.
ethical minefield, right? To say that, um, do I prioritize how to make money for my company or prioritize the health of the patient? Because then for the business as a healthcare company, it's more about, firstly about the profit, and then also there's a need. But then could agentic AIs prioritize the profit of the healthcare institution than the needs, of that person? Now, these systems actually can also amplify bias, right? Or becoming hacking targets, just like David alluded to. A lot of bias, and just as we are learning to use them for good, bad actors are also, using them for to enhance their bad, actions. But looking forward, I see that the key here is what we call collaborative autonomy. That's how I want to term it. Um,
Okay.
and what is collaborative autonomy? This is perceived to say a design system that consults humans, right, on high stakes decision. For instance, the example I gave about the pilots trying to navigate a storm, right? Um, how could we look at the collaboration between the experienced human pilots leveraging the AI assistance in mitigating that storm? So we also need to look at, the regulation, must evolve for oversight, right? So we need to move today. A lot of regulations and compliance we have is more oversight, right? AI is rediscovering and rewriting the rules. So we need to move away from oversight to what I want to term partnership with innovation, right? So we need to work hand in hand to see where this AI or agentic AI is taking us, what the rules are, how can we rewrite it to partner to give us, so opportunities risk a lot of them.
Thank you so much for that, Sam. All right. So I don't know if any of our audience right now you have any question you want to ask any of them before we go on. All right. So maybe you just do a quick introduction of yourself and then you ask your question.
Yeah, sure.
All right.
Yeah, so my name is Håkan Segnogel. I'm MVP and MCT from Norway. And I have a question that probably is mostly directed to David.
David. All right.
About security. So some months ago or some time ago, there was this incident that there was a big multinational company. They had a team meeting very similar to the one that we have right now. And then the CEO of the company was proposing that they needed to make a transfer of a substantial amount of money to a subsidiary. Unfortunately, after the Teams meeting, they followed up. They called the CEO and he said, no, I've never been to this Teams meeting. So then it showed that this was actually a deepfake. That was both deepfake with video and with voice. So what are your thoughts about this? How can we guard ourselves against these types of attacks?
So thanks for the question. So that's definitely a big challenge, right? So one of the mentioned earlier, the rules have been rewritten, right? And one of the things that's coming out are these new types of attacks. So social engineering, as we used to know it, it's not the same social engineering of today, right? So it's point of like the deepfakes that you mentioned now. So there are organizations that are doing like tons of research. some of them I'm aware of, some of them I'm not allowed to speak about, like some of the work. But there are organizations that are doing research in terms of how to identify things like this sort of like deep fake attacks and deep fake usage. But I think in the meantime, the quickest things organizations can do very quickly is rapid training and enablement. And this is one of the things that I've seen organizations make a mistake on, right? So sometimes I go, like, representing my organization, I go into companies and I say, oh, what are you doing in terms of like AI risk enablement? And they bring up policies and they say, we have those policies that we've created. We've sent this to all our developers in terms of, oh, you're not allowed to use, GitHub Copilot, or you're not allowed to use like code that's coming from all these sources. And we go, oh, so you believe that they're not using that, right? you really think that because you have a policy that they're not using that. No, that's not sufficient. To your point, you have to show people these risks, right? You have to bring it home to them. At a Falcon event last year at CrowdStrike, Falcon is CrowdStrike's main event for the year. One of the things that was shown on stage were essentially like North Korean hackers or attackers. They were doing interviews, in your case, using deep fakes, and they were doing interviews and getting jobs, working in companies, and then essentially becoming like insider threats to like many organizations, right? And you have to bring those, that's like the quickest way that you can do. Make sure that your users understand the risks, bring that home to them. But that being said, from a technological perspective, there's still like a lot of work that's been done in progress to make sure that organizations are able to identify some of these things. The reports that I've read so far, the results have not been convincingly accurate, right, for many of them to actually like put those out like into product. But definitely things are going to catch up eventually. Like things are going to catch up and going to find ways to be able to identify and detect it.
All right. Okay, please go ahead. Please introduce yourself and just ask the question.
Yeah, thank you. My name is Jeremy Nathan. Thank you for your time being with us today. So a follow-up question to that is, Copilot, you cannot put an AI made picture and ask Copilot, was this made with AI? It says, I can't tell you that, but you think that's what maybe we need to have to, like you're saying with the deep fake video, to say, is this video fake or is it real?
I mean, like I've tested, like I've seen like some of those tools. I mean, from my personal experience, they are really, really inaccurate. Many of them that I've tested, where you can say, oh, copy this text and paste it, and it will tell you if it's AI generated. In many cases, I can type something up by myself, paste it into that, and it goes, that's AI generated. I'm not AI. And you take something that is AI generated and paste it, and you go, oh, that's not AI generated. So they've like not been accurate. Like I think that's one of the things that organizations need to be careful about. Because of the growth of this area, there's a lot of hype out there with people rushing to put things out without going through like proper verification and validation, and like let's just put it out there, right? So and I think that's going to be like a distinguishing factor between organizations that will be more successful in the long run. I know of organizations that were training like security models to do certain things, and because it got like a 92% accuracy, that wasn't sufficient enough for them, right? That wasn't sufficient enough for them. And, I'm happy to share like some of the reports, and they had to essentially pause that. So, so in like some of those cases, the research is still ongoing. It's not there yet. But in the meantime, the quickest thing that one can do is enablement, awareness, not just policy. Make sure that your users are well trained.
All right. Absolutely. Thank you so much. So we're gonna go. Do you have a question? Oh, okay. All right.
I think Sam has a comment on that. I think Sam has a comment.
All right,
on
Sam,
that.
please go ahead.
Yes, I had a comment on that. So in addition to what David said in terms of like the reality stuff and still training, I think to answer your question, there's also the desire of the giant pioneering AI, the path they want to go versus what they want to put out there, right? And it might
Mm.
sound a bit controversial, but have you tried doing asking AI to do the same thing using Copilot and then using GPT, ChatGPT? You get somewhere different responses. One can go a bit detailed. The Microsoft one will tell you, I can't tell you this because it's also it does because of how Microsoft responsible AI works. Another example is I don't know how many of you know about the Microsoft custom neural voices, right? Which allows you to create what we call voice font. So you can recreate a person's voice synthesis by using that. You can do the same thing on 11 Labs and a lot of other open source third-party, AI tools. But the hurdles you need to jump if you want to use Microsoft custom neural voices, you need to go through a lot of application, a lot of process. You need to get
A lot of
consent from the
validation.
person's voices. So it's also, a question of what the organization in terms of what policies or guardrails they have for responsible AI, and then for lack of a better word, irresponsible AI. And I'll probably share more about it. But then I just wanted to add that. So sometimes as well, it's dependent on the organization and how they are pushing AI responsibly.
And
Absolutely, you're
can I
right.
apologies to take, can I just throw something in there? So
Yeah.
something very interesting, like in terms of like this. So one of the other aspects to question that was asked earlier is the way that we do authentication is going to change, right? So if I cannot authenticate that, if I cannot validate that Sam is the one speaking from Sam's voice, because Sam's voice can be created by a
Synthesized, yeah.
model. Yeah, then there has to be like another way for me to validate that it's really
Validate,
Sam.
yeah.
Right. There are other ways
Mm,
in terms of Sam having his own personal model
mm,
validate, right? So
mm.
Sam has a model that can validate that it's Sam. But there are different approaches that organizations are taking into like trying to understand how to like tackle like that challenge of newer methods of authentication.
Mm, mm,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So with the risk comes a lot of advancements around also guiding against the risk. Thank you so much,
Mm.
guys, for that. So I'm just gonna be jumping real quick to Joy. Um, and I mean, I think this will take like this is taken from all of the conversations we've been having so far, and that is about building AI resilient organizations. So Joy, if you're on the call, my question is, what are the steps can organization actively take to prevent their AI implementation from becoming gateway for cyber threats? And if you hear a lot of what we've been speaking about, so I just wanted to quickly throw some light there. Okay. Is Joy on the
Joy,
call?
you're muted. Yeah, she's on the call. You're muted.
Am I audible now?
Yeah, you're audible.
Yes, you are.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Everybody who knows me, I'm a big fan for let's not reinvent the wheel, especially when it comes to security, right? Because of the way AI has come, everybody's excited. We think when it comes to security, we also have to do something new. That's not true. It's the same thing. The same way you have a checklist of how you roll out an application to everybody, how you make sure that certain controls are put in place, is the same expectation that I personally would recommend to any organization that is infusing AI. One thing we've established from everybody's conversation here is that we can't live in denial. Our people are using AI. And so, like David said, people will tell you they have policies that inform their people not to use certain type of AI tools. But how do you know that they are not using it? You want
Hmm.
further insights, right? That guide you to understand the kind of tools your people use so that you can put the right controls. So how do we stay resilient? Is use the same mechanism, which is we make sure we do the right security controls from authentication to where our data goes to how this data is accessed, what devices are they accessed from. Remember the world when we had on-prem, right? And then internet came and we were all excited to move to the cloud. What did we do? We went to the cloud to try and understand what the internet was and what that would mean from a network perspective. So the way you would have access controls in your internal network and you restrict data from moving from one point to the other. When it came to cloud, we did the same thing. We started understanding how do I, in the cloud environment, create these controls that will restrict communications, whether it's bilateral, whether it's data, That's the same thing with AI. So now that we're bringing AI, whether it's AI in the code level, whether it's AI in the SOC level, whether it's AI at the productivity level, we need to start asking ourselves, how can data be transferred? How can we ensure that what is transferred, we have control over it? How can we ensure that people use this within the right framework? So number one, awareness. The human, as they always say, we're the weakest link. So training, continuous awareness for people to be enlightened. In fact, something interesting happened to me last week. A senior colleague I had worked with over the years reached out to me and needed my help for something. And so she said to me, Joy, I need you to help me look at this documentation. I'm putting together a report for some very high executives. And she said, I've used AI to do the comparison. I've used ChatGPT. Look at it. And guess what? She copied verbatim, word for word, her documents into ChatGPT to do the
My God.
comparison. and why the output was so impressive, I freaked out and I screamed and I said, Ma, did you understand what you just did? She couldn't get it. And she was like, what? I said, you took the company name, everything about this sensitive project,
Oh my
and
God.
you ChatGPT to help. And while ChatGPT did a fantastic one, I said you just helped the language model learn something new about your company, and you can never say what is going to interpret that for the next person who comes. And guess what? She's a highly exposed senior person doing fantastically well in her industry and her space, but she had that knowledge gap. She didn't understand what sits behind that wonderful AI tool that gave her this output in the quick response, relied on what we call the language models. And the ability for it to be that intelligent was based on the amount of data you fed into it, for lack of going into the technical details. So permit me, the technical guys, I'm sure you'll be like, that's so simple. That's not what it is. We have to make it simple for people to understand. But in the most simplified way, that's what it means, right?
Yeah.
But she didn't know. So awareness, it sits on the top of it. For us to have an AI resilient environment, we must continuously educate people on what this AI that we are all excited about, what it actually means. It's not magic. It's based on the ability to continuously train this with the amount of information we have. So you need to ask yourself, what I'm putting in here, what's the consequences? What does it mean for my organization? What does it mean to me? Where does it interpret? And we should never think that at this point, anybody is a master. You'll be so amazed that even the senior execs have no clue. Life is going to be made easy for them, but at the expense of what they need to understand. So that's my recommendation in driving security. And I think that will help amplify some of the questions around the deep fake that happened with that organization example. How did they open up their meeting links? Did they just allow meeting links to be accessed from anywhere? What's the control that they have as to who can join meetings? What controls have they put in place now that people join meetings with note taker, AI note takers, and while it's exciting for AI to help summarize and give you key points, you're asking yourself, what is AI doing with this data at the back end?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Joy. It's always a joy to have you on the call, All right, so moving on. Is there any question from our audience? All right, go ahead, please. Please introduce yourself before.
My name is Sharif Al-Ghali.
Okay.
I guess the question I had for Joy is, does she see this moving, or any of the panels? Does she see how people are feeding data to ChatGPT, but they still want the usefulness of it? Does that encourage more people to use local models, to start buying hardware and then just use local models within their companies? Is that something that you see to kind of prevent that data exfiltration? So we'll just use we'll use DeepSeek, but we'll just buy our own hardware and then run it internally in the company or something like that.
All right. Joy, you're still muted. All right, go ahead. You're muted, Joy.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, very well. Very loud.
Thank you for that question. Sorry, I didn't get your name. The network was fluctuating. If I had to give you a simple answer, it would be yes. But as a solutions architect, we don't just hear a problem and we just say, oh, this is the resolution, right? But the simple answer will be yes. For corporate organizations to ensure that they, prevent data exploration, the simple answer would be understand what your organization wants to use AI to achieve, and it might just be best fit to build your own, language models that play around your data so that you can put those controls and guardrails, right? However, right, if you wanted to drill down, some of these AI models, like we know in Microsoft allows you to create yours and you still keep it within your tenant and the boundary and within, and so that control is there. Some of these, I know ChatGPT has the enterprise, so it's based on maybe what's the risk, what type of data is your organization trying to exchange, and you might just find out that maybe you don't necessarily need an LLM, maybe you need an enterprise version where there are certain levels of what do they call it, risk, owned by the what would I call
by the OEM.
yeah, the OEM, yes, but the simple answer will be yes, as an organization, to ensure that you have that comfort that your data is within your control, it'll be best to look at the use case and then build your own LLM.
All right. Is that anyone want to add to that from Sam or? Okay. All right.
So mine is not, it coincidentally, it was actually what I call
Yes.
an impactful rhetoric questioning, especially when Joy mentioned, the level of risk, right? So maybe I'll just throw it here. It's let's assume that if an agentic AI, right, makes $1 billion mistake, who is accountable? Is it the engineer, the algorithm, or the CEO who trusted the AI? Just rhetoric. You don't need to answer. Let's go on.
Just say not really. All right. I think I have one question from Sheyi before we go on. Yeah.
How do you balance, from the question you asked, how do you balance the costs against the design as an architect? And looking at what Sam is saying, we have to look holistically. Do I have to invest a lot of money on trying to build my own model and deploying it on the existing one? So why do you play? Why do you play out with all this all those bits that we're bringing in now?
All right. Okay, Joy, do you want to answer that?
Like I said, we're not in a design session. Gosh, you put me on the spot. I would say yes. How do you balance?
All right. I think so.
No. Let me just answer in simple terms. You're right. I think your question kind of answered itself, right? We need to balance everything. We need to balance the risk with the costs and, with what we're trying to safeguard. And you can't, there's no one size fits all response to this. It would all be based on what the organization wants to use AI to achieve. And you now want to tie it into business terms, which is what's the value add to the business goal, to the strategy, and which option would be best. Would it be best to build our own model, or would it be best? So there's no one size fits all. And like you said, I like Sam's response. I'm imagining sitting in the midst of executives and dropping that as an open speech to your presentation, and it gets them thinking why you drop why it's important for them to look at looking at AI holistically. So there's no one size fits all. It's always look at it use case by use case. What value does AI bring to your organization, and what's your risk, and what's your risk appetite? And then that can determine how you want to go about it. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Joy. And I'll just quickly throw this last question because of time to Ola. And this is about the future of autonomous AI agents. And then when Ola answered this question, Joy, you will just be the person to answer the last one because of time. I think we're behind time. We just have about 10 minutes. So Ola, how is the agentic AI expected to develop over the next 5 years? And which industry do you see are likely going to reap the greatest benefit from this advancement? Is Ola there? We can't hear you if you're speaking.
I'm muted, but can you hear me now?
Yes, great. Go on, please.
Yeah, this is a very interesting question because it's more about predictions, and the best prediction might still be wrong, So, but I'm just going to I'm going to give some shots based on what we see happening around us today. First, obviously, the very first thing we're going to see is a completely change in the way we interact with applications. In the next 5 years, we're going to see that Microsoft vision for this is that Copilot becomes the UI for AI. And what we already see that playing out through the concept of Copilot as a business chat app and agents running at the back end, where you can call on as many agents as possible using that single Copilot interface and have them run and do work for you. So, and again, we've seen people already writing SaaS is dead, because probably we're going to be having agents now interacting directly with our database for function based, activating, carrying out tasks and activity based on, what you want to do. No longer a UI UX that is getting things done. I also see probably an end to information overload, because you have these agents now, series of agents that can actually filter through complex information, store in different places, and go straight to what you need and able to digest that content to exactly what you need for that purpose. I see new creator economy evolving and emerging, both for organizations. The biggest winners will not be people building this large language model. We already see right now how it is no longer a competitive edge for how big or how large your model is. People are doing it at a fraction cost now, and is now becoming who is able to build product out of this. So we're going to see a lot of products that are truly solving problems, and these are more winners than companies who boast in being able to build the complex or the best possible models. Then I'm so happy because David mentioned the concept of identity verification. It has to evolve. That one, it has to evolve. Very soon, I'm seeing things like if you cannot recognize through voice, through video or face, fingerprints can even be dubbed in many instances now. Probably about a lot of biomedical or biometrics verification method will start evolving. Probably something that will even take your blood sample to some, maybe some complex, some complex verification process. If it has to do with moving money, banks, and like that, probably there'll be a live sync, and you just put your hand on it, just pinch your blood, and it's able to recognize the DNA that this is the same person.
My goodness.
But it has to evolve in a way that is not directly the way it used to be today. We're going to see agent to agent commerce. And personal financial management will become different, because you open air, for example, you can ask operator now to help you book a flight. And the next coming years, you are speaking, an agent is executing action and carrying out financial transaction, even on your behalf in many instances. So it's hard and difficult to even track many instructions you've given that has already executed a financial transactions on your behalf. So it has to be a new solution now that can actually help you track that. Today, we have app that help us check how many places we have our credit card, being placed, so that you can see how much of, how many subscriptions you have, how many things you have. There's going to be solutions that help you track how many agents are making financial transactions on your behalf, and how your personal finance is evolving. The last part I'm just going to talk about is agent to agent commerce, and that's where the chain of thought comes in. There's going to be a new entire ecosystem where agents can talk to several agents. If you are asking agent to bargain on your behalf, don't be surprised. The agent is talking to another agent to bargain for you, because they also have agents that's trying to do that pricing. And you have an agent that is helping you to either for refund, return, anything. So we're going to be seeing so many. It looks exciting, but it's also come with some fear. Imagine what this power and possibilities can be in the wrong hands. So, and this is why being security conscious and building everything from security ground up. It's not bad to appear too late if you get there right. So saying that we have to go fast, everybody's going fast. Well, no, it doesn't have. If you get there the right, making sure you get what you need, but you are doing it the right way, ensuring every security practices that will guide the operation is in place. It's better that way than throwing everything in without being conscious of security side. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. You have a question, because we just have like 2 minutes. They've been coming in to come tell. You have a question? All right. Thank you. All right. Joy, thank you. Thank you, all of you. David, Sam, thank you. We really appreciate. I mean, we just want to say very big thank you for this. All right, so to connect with any of them, this is just you can connect with any of the speakers. That's their LinkedIn profile. Please, and connect with them, and then you can always stay connected and ask questions on LinkedIn. Thank you guys for honoring this. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Oh, thanks everyone. Bye. Yeah. MJ, I didn't know that Mr. Sheyi is there. Help me to say hello to my guy. Also. Yeah.
Me
All
too.
right,
Say
thank
say
you
hello
guys.
to Mr. Sheyi. Okay, bye
Okay.
everyone.
Cheers. Bye everyone.
All right.
Are you all from Ghana and
No, the
Nigeria,
combination
or-
of Nigeria and Ghana.
Ah, Nigeria.
All right. Bye, everyone. Bye, Joy. Joy, thank you so much. I mean, Joy has a baby that she's taking care of, and she just show up here. Thank you so much.
MJ, thank you.
Yeah.
This is very good.
Yeah, thank you.
Really
Yeah,
Really
thank.
professional.
Yeah.
One of the most professional talks so far.
All right.
So he had an 8K, was it Ola with the blue shirt? Ola had the blue polo.
Let me see. Let me see. I think. Let me
I'm trying
see.
to remember who was.
Oh, is it the one that talks about the cybersecurity? I think they've all gone. All right.
Yeah, but well, he had like an 8K hammer or something.
Okay.
Really